Yo, yo, yo. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Freedom marchers, freedom lovers, freedom family, and freedom fighters. Snapzilla Gorillas in the building. Hitting y'all with a little discussion. It is Monday, September 29th of 2025. And yeah, I got some overcast skies going on over here, some rain, and we are getting ready here in the southeast to brace for a possible hurricane and all that good shit. They're talking about one hurricane or one tropical storm might merge with a hurricane and all this shit. We'll see what happens. We know what happened last year. When that hurricane traveled all the way up to Asheville, North Carolina and sat there. I don't know if y'all remember that. Completely destroyed the town of Asheville, but we'll see what happens this year. Anyway, how y'all doing? I wanted to talk about this because we have a problem. And make sure y'all hit the like button when y'all come in here. Hit the like button to share this out because I want to bring solutions, right? I want to bring some solutions to the problems we're facing here in this country in regards to policing in particular, right? This is going to be about policing in particular. This is in the wake of what happened to Terrence Bud Crawford on early Sunday morning, after he celebrated his birthday. He was celebrating his birthday and had his parade and had the keys to the city after beating Canelo Alvarez, right? So he's driving and he has his security with him and he gets pulled over by the popo, okay? Now the popo decided to pull their guns on Terrence Bud Crawford and all that good shit. They have a discussion. Terrence Bud Crawford is basically saying he's not reaching for a gun. They have him get out of the car. The police officer says that he sees a gun on the passenger side on the floor, but it's secure. And obviously, salute to Ken Garde, salute. It gives you the Book of Eli vibes. Salute to you. I appreciate that, Ken Garde. And y'all hit the like button, please. I don't know why we ain't got no likes going on yet. I don't know why we ain't got no likes cracking, but we should. So basically, they arrest Terrence Bud Crawford, the police officers. They book him. They don't book him. They take him down to the police station, all that good shit, and detain him. And then they release him with no charges. Now, this is not a surprise, right? They say they pulled him over for reckless driving. Well, if you pulled him over for reckless driving, why did you release him without charge? Well, in my opinion, it was to send a message. It was to give a message to Terrence Bud Crawford and anybody like Terrence Bud Crawford who, decide they want to get uppity and think that they have some type of pull and influence in this country that's meaningful. That's basically what this police officer did. This is what the police department did to Terrence Bud Crawford. And as they say, there's nothing new under the sun. This is not anything new within this country, okay? Right? This is nothing new. We know that the police like to harass, they like to accost, they like to waste people's time because they have been given a level of power that no individual should. Here we go with this bullshit, y'all. Here we go. Here we go. Can a brother just do a live stream? Apparently not. Apparently they have to fuck with my shit. You know, whatever. It is what it is. We're going to keep it pushing. Please hit the like button when y'all come in here, y'all. Hit that like button. Now. Yeah, we're back on. Listen, there's nothing new under the sun. Right? They will allow black folks to get but so far in this country before they let you know what your place is. Right? And understand that this is not, it's not just black folks, but it's black folks who are targeted the most. Black folks who are targeted the most. Right? That's how the system is designed. That's how policing in this country was founded. With the slave patrols, right? The slave patrols evolved in police departments. This is the evolution of policing in this country. So, you know, I know there are going to be people out there that say, oh, there's no racist system. There's no systemic racism. You know, there is. And I went over that 6 years ago. I talked about that 6 years ago in a live stream where I broke it down. I showed you all the receipts. I showed you some of the receipts. There are way more receipts out there, but I gave you guys some good examples. Nonetheless, if you rewind, go back to Jack Johnson, right? That the Now, I don't know if somebody's trying to report my page or whatever, or if YouTube is, I don't know what's going on. But it is what it is. We're going to keep it rolling. We're going to keep it pushing. We're going to fight through it. Salute to a civil engineer. Salute to you. Jack Johnson. You go back to Jack Johnson, he went through even more, right? With what this country put him through, he went through a lot more. Now, they got him for violating the Mann Act, right? They got him for violating the Mann Act. They prosecuted him and convicted him because he had some white woman in one state and went to another state with her, right? Which was illegal. It was basically illegal for a black man to date and get with a white woman back in those days. It was part of the Mann Act, right? They violated him for that, right? You know, and they just pardoned him a few years ago for that very thing. They persecuted Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was whooping all kind of ass. Obviously, right? They tried to keep him. They tried to keep him away from the white heavyweight champions and all these things. They didn't want him, obviously, to outshine them. So they put him through the ringer. Now, he was able to overcome a lot of it. And like I said, what the hell? And like I said, he just got pardoned for that. Jay Johnson went through a lot of shit. Okay? Policing in this country is trash across the board. And I'm going to explain why. Not just for black folks, but in general. It's trash because these police officers are given a certain level of power that no human being should have over any other human being. And on top of that power, they are not held accountable for their actions individually when they fuck up. Right? So there's a lack of accountability, and there's way too many powers that police enjoy. Way too many. And this is, of course, by design to keep the people in check, to keep them in line, to make sure that they don't step out of their place. And if you thought that the police have a duty to serve and protect the people, you are sadly mistaken. The Supreme Court ruled in 2005 that the police have no duty to protect anybody at all. They have no duty. Their duty is to enforce the laws handed down by the legislators and to protect the property and all this bullshit, right? They're not here to serve it. They have no duty to serve and protect. I just hope we understand that. Yet, when it comes to how they are paid and who pays them, well, obviously, the people that these police officers rule over, right? That the people that they are responsible for enforcing, for their handlers, we pay their salaries, right? We pay them. So you would think, well, look, if we pay these people, they should be serving and protecting us, but they don't. They have no duty to. So that's a problem in and of itself. Now, when you look at Assata Shakur, may she rest in power. She just passed away on the 25th of this month. She passed away in Cuba. She encountered police officers with her boyfriend. Police officers killed her boyfriend. And then as he was getting murdered, he fired back at the police officers. A couple of police officers were killed. And they arrested her for it. Right? She was there. Right? Now, the guy, her boyfriend, was defending herself, defending them against police terrorism. Okay? Police terrorism. But obviously, because they are police, they get to enjoy special privileges and special powers. So that did not apply to Assata Shakur and her boyfriend. Well, she didn't pull the trigger, nonetheless, but they charged her with the murders. And so they locked her up. They tried to place her in prison. She was able to escape. She escaped and fled to Cuba. Now this happened in, I believe, I don't remember exactly what year, in the 60s or 70s. She's been in Cuba ever since, and she just died. Now during the Obama administration, Obama tried to make a deal with Cuba, right? Because they were going to lift the embargo. Well, Obama tried to put a stipulation in there that would have Assata Shakur come back to the United States to face justice. They refused. Cuba refused to release Assata Shakur back to the United States. And that's a good thing, because there was no justice. There would have been no justice, right? There would have been no justice at all whatsoever. And she is now resting where she is resting, in power. Policing in this country is what it is. And if you look at the numbers, you look at at the statistics, which I outlined and shared in my live stream 6 years ago, which I re-uploaded last week or so you guys can go check that out. Look at my community tab. It shows that when it comes to policing in this country, black folks are targeted more heavily than white folks who commit the same crimes to the same degree. But they won't get prosecuted nearly as much as black folks, and they won't get sentences nearly as harsh as black folks. There's no debating this. Like I said, there are facts there and evidence out there that shows this. Not only that, but when it comes to exonerations, over 70% of all exonerees, including murder, which is above 50%, including robbery and other crimes, over 70% of total exonerees for total all crimes 70% are for black people. I told you guys how, and I proved and showed how judges have sold children, thousands of them. One judge sold thousands of children to the police, to the private prisons, by giving them extra harsh sentences that did not match the alleged crime they committed. That judge got locked up. Well, that was just one judge. I told you guys about, I mentioned the San Francisco Police Department with their racist text messages. And in those text messages, they were talking about how they were gonna and were targeting black people to lock them up and kill them and do all kind of shit. There was another police department that had the same issue on the other side of the country. I forgot if it was North Carolina or South Carolina, somewhere. One of those states. So you have that. You also have the police chief in Florida that instructed his officers to target black folks and frame them and set them up for crimes they didn't commit. He got arrested as well because he got caught. He got caught out in the open. This is policing in America. Somebody says, I'm barely black. I don't know why you're concerned about the level of my blackness, but I could give a fuck less about what you believe about it. But, obviously you guys are, whatever reason you guys are hyper focused on my looks, my sexuality, all these things, clearly you guys are homosexuals. But homosexuals are going to homosexual. Do what you got to do. The problem we have in police in this country when it comes to black folks is that there is no equal justice under the law for black folks. There's no equal justice under the law for anybody. There cannot be. There cannot be equal justice under man-made laws for any human being when the centralized power, right? The centralized power, the central government, the federal government, whether it's the federal government, the local police departments, or the local government, the state government, that's centralized power. They're just at different scales. When you have centralized power and the individuals that hold that power are unchecked and unaccounted, then you have these problems across the board. Because no one's going to hold them accountable. Not even the people that they so-called represent. They're not being held accountable by anybody. Right? Okay, we'll protest, you know what I'm saying, and all this other shit. We'll push the vote. Oh, let's go out and vote. Let's vote for the next guy and hope that they don't fuck us over. This is what we do. This is the vicious cycle that we're caught in. This is the vicious cycle. This is the problem that we're facing because the centralized power, right? They give the orders and they write the laws for these police departments to adhere to and to uphold. Even though they swear on the Constitution, right? Why are you trolling? If you disagree, stop hate watching. Oh, yeah. They can't do that. They can't do that because they find me attractive. So they can't help but stick around and try to talk shit to get my attention. Now, what we have here is we have a system that's not designed for the people. Right? Now, the framers of the Constitution put in the preamble of the Constitution, right? Of the people, by the people, consent to be governed. But you know what they did? You know where they fucked up at? When they created this Constitution, they also created a central government that would hold all the power. They created 3 branches where all the power would be distributed. You got a separation of powers, they call it. Separation of powers. You got the legislative branch, the judicial branch, and the executive branch. Well, why are there only 3 branches? Why are there 3 separations of power? Well, within these separations of power, you have how many individuals? You got 530 something. You got over 500 Congress people. You got 1 president, and you got everybody that falls under the executive branch. Then you got the judicial branch. Well, where is the branch for the civilian class or the proletariat class to overrule all 3 branches? See, that's where they fucked up. They didn't put in there that, look, we need a 4th branch that has overriding power over all these other 3 branches, where they can shake things up and make shit happen. That's where we fucked up. That's where the Federalists fucked up. Oh, we're going to create 3 branches of government. They're going to be a separation of powers, checks and balances. But the separation of power is an illusion. There is no separation of powers, right? All 3 branches exist under one what? One central government. So there's no real separation. Just like, salute to Matt Love. Salute to you, bro. I appreciate you, man. That's my boy from, yeah, I grew up with this dude, man. Well, he grew up with my little bro. Salute to Matt Love in the building. See, there is no separation of powers. Even within Congress, the 2-party system is really just one party. They just separate them. They give you the illusion that there is separation there, right? So that they can push this separation down into the proletariat class and have you guys convinced that, oh, well, I'm a conservative, I'm a liberal, we have to fight amongst each other. We got to go against each other. White and black, we got to go against each other. See, they perpetuate the racism. They perpetuate the left versus right paradigm bullshit so that when we are upset and angry about something, when we really should be focusing up there, we're focusing down here amongst each other. There is no separation of power within government. The separation of powers, the checks and balances, is a fucking illusion. It's an illusion. So what you saw happen to Terrence Bud Crawford is an extension of the government that wants you to know, I don't care how big you get, you better know your motherfucking place. And it just does not apply to black folks. If that's what you believe, you are sadly mistaken. Ask the white farmers who are whining and complaining to Donald Trump right now about losing money and going broke. Ask them how they feel. They won't tell you. They don't give a fuck about what black folks, they don't give a goddamn about black folks. They worried about making a living now. So we have to understand the left versus right, black versus white, all this other shit. These are paradigms that are created by these individuals because they want you to believe that depending on who's in power, those individuals that agree with him or her are going to be more better represented during their administrative presidential run. Right? That's what they want you to believe. So that you can rest on your laurels and say, you know what? We good. Donald Trump is in office, man. We ain't got to worry about shit. Oh, well, that's where you fucked up. That's where you fucked up. Because those farmers voted for Trump. Those Latinos that they're deporting, they voted for Trump. And it doesn't stop there. It's going to continue. This is the real reality of what we're facing. Because who do they represent? Who does the government officials truly represent? Who does Congress represent? Two branches of Congress. You got the House and you got the Senate. Who do they represent? Because they're supposed to be our representatives, right? Iraq says us. No, they don't represent us. They represent the special interest groups and the corporations. That's who they represent. Because these special interest groups and corporations and the bankers, they send lobbyists into the halls of Congress and they wheel and deal with these people. And guess what? One special interest group like AIPAC, y'all know who AIPAC is, right? AIPAC, the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, AIPAC, they put their money out on both sides. They give money to Republicans, they give money to Democrats to get shit that they want done. How many of you out there go to the halls of Congress and lobby? How many of you guys go to the halls of Congress and propose legislation that they want you to bring, that you want your representatives to bring to the floor for a vote? How many of y'all? Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever been able to lobby with your representative or belong to a special interest group that does that. Well, policing in this country is an extension of that. Police officers and police departments, they enforce the laws. Coach Hudson, you lobby with your representative? That's what's up. All right, wait. Coach Hudson, you have proposed legislation to your representatives? That's what's up, man. Hey, if you can do it, if you can make something shake and move like that, you got something going. Now, policing is an extension of that. Oh, you did for the vets? That's what's up. Yes, veteran organizations are also special interest groups. But when it comes to getting shit done that they really need done, because as a matter of fact, let's look at the veterans. How well do we take care of veterans in this country? All right, we got Jay Christian, who also says that they lobbied in Congress. Now, did that legislation do anything to improve the lives of veterans in this country? Is my question. Horrible, right? Now, my point is this. The special interest groups, and look, yes, you can, and this is what I want you to understand, like Coach Hudson understands. You can propose legislation to your representatives. You can lobby. You can be part of an organization that lobbies. You can be part of an special interest groups. My MOS was 11 Mike, when 11 Mike was still a thing. Now it's 11 X-ray. Nonetheless, these organizations that really make shit move and shake in this country, well, they get shit done for real for themselves. And when I'm talking about big money corporations, that really have the power and the influence to make shit happen. You're a veteran, you never apply for benefits, you better go ahead and do it. You should never be relying on your government. Now, there are all types of special interest groups. There are veteran special interest groups. You got big oil, you got big pharma, you got big banks. Yeah, Coach Hudson's right. You got the big bankers. Those are the organizations, the banks, the corporations that have special interest groups, for-profit organizations, not necessarily organizations like Coach Hudson was a part of, because they're a nonprofit. For-profit corporations and organizations that lobby in Congress to get shit done for real, to protect their interest in this country. The defense contractors, right? The defense contractors that built the weapons, the defense contractors that Erica Kirk's mother was a part of. Erica Kirk's mother has something to do with defense contracting in the form of security. Those are the corporations that really get shit done the way they wanted to get done. Now, like I said, you guys can propose legislation. You guys can lobby in Congress. But you got to have the juice. You got to have the juice. And what you want done has to align with what the larger corporations and the bankers want. If not, you might get something to move and shake, but it's not really going to be very significant. Now, I want to talk about the solutions to policing in this country, because there is a problem with policing, whether you guys believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? Damn, you're wrong says that's a loaded statement. We pay the government. They should be reliable. Well, unfortunately, you're right. We do pay the government and they should be reliable, but they're not. You know why? Because no one's holding them accountable. No one's holding the government accountable for their lack of being reliable, for their lack of duty, for violating the Constitution, for violating their oath. No one's holding them accountable. Hell, they're not holding Israel accountable, and we pay Israel too. We pay for the health care of Israeli people. We pay for their college. We pay for their weapons. We pay for the Iron Dome. They do what they want. They commit genocide. They launch strikes against sovereign nations that has nothing to do with what the fuck they got going on. Yet, here we are. No one's holding Israel accountable. You think they're going to hold themselves accountable? Who's going to hold our government accountable? The Constitution put in place a separation of powers and checks and balances. They don't check or balance each other. They get down with the get down. What do you think about President Trump using servicemen and women on the U.S. citizens? It's an atrocity. It's an atrocity. Now let's talk about the solutions. I'll give you an example. For policing, right? I'll give you a couple examples that I spoke on actually a few years ago. A few years ago, I talked about this. You guys can go back in my archive and see the things that I've talked about and how consistent I've been throughout the years. And how I was able to tell you about a lot of shit that's going to happen, that's happening right now. I was able to tell you back then that it's going to happen. James Arnold says, I feel sorry for our servicemen and women being used as a pawn in this domestic political war. It's horrible. Daniel Ron says, the people were supposed to hold the government accountable, but we are too separate for that. Yes, by design. This is how they designed it. This is how they move and shake. They use media through Operation Mockingbird. Operation Mockingbird, they use that to create this division, to create the chaos, to create the illusions, right? To give us information they want us to have. Andrew Tate says we need the National Guard. No, the National Guard does not belong to us. The National Guard belongs to the federal government. They're on loan to the states, just so y'all know. Anyway, here is the solution, right? No, it's not. Independent is not. Voting independent is not a solution, y'all. All you're doing is continuing to participate and submit to the system. You're submitting. You're giving your submission. When you vote, you're submitting to the government that you will do as you're told, and you will be a loyal subject. You will remain a slave. That's what you're doing when you vote. You're telling them that you want to continue to be a slave. That's what you're doing. So, for the policing in this country, here's the solution. In Detroit, salute to Eric Jordan. Salute to you, bro. In Detroit was such a bad. It was so horrible in Detroit. There was a point in time where there was so much crime that the police could not even send units to help people. So the mayor or the police chief of the Detroit Police Department said, look, man, y'all need to go ahead and arm up. Y'all need to get your guns, and you need to protect yourself, because we can't come save you. That is what the Detroit Police Department police chief told his people, the people that he was supposed to serve and supposed to protect. He said, nah, y'all, don't even think about relying on us. Y'all got to help yourselves. Y'all go ahead and arm up and handle your own business, because we ain't gonna be able to do it. So many people fled Detroit that I think last year or so, I haven't checked in a minute, but there are houses going for like $10,000. There are blocks of homes that are unoccupied. But this is what the people of Detroit had to do, right? It clearly shows you that, number one, when it really comes down to it, the police department can't do shit to save you in the first place. And when you call on them, they only arrive after the crime was committed. Rarely do they show up during the crime to prevent anything. By the time they get there, it's a wrap, right? What was done is done. But what they did in Detroit, the people of Detroit, they hired private security. That's what they did. They hired private security firms to do what the police should have done. No, right. Damn You Wrong says police ain't meant to stop crime. You're absolutely right about that. Kayla Stokeham says everyone needs to say no, I won't. The people need to come together and stand up for what we believe in and get all the evil and corruption. I agree with that. But in Detroit, they hired private security firms to do what the police should have done. Eric Jordan, salute to you, dropping that $2 super chat. I appreciate you, brother. He said 3 houses in Detroit under $1,000. Damn, is it $1,000 now? Holy shit. But that's how bad it is in Detroit right now. The crime, people fleeing Detroit. Police can't respond. Police chief telling them, hey, man, y'all need to arm up. Y'all need to get your guns and handle your business. And that's really how it should be. Your first line of defense is yourself. All right, Big MURICA, you keep spamming. You're hyper obsessed with my race, so I'm getting your ass out of here because you're repeating it. You're not adding anything to the conversation, and you're just doing it over and over again. Get your ass out of here. The world ain't what they said. As kids says, read both comments above, below, but not mine because this man's a sellout scummer. Okay. Owen asked, am I proposing all police be private security firms? Yes. Yeah. Policing should be privatized. Dun, dun, dun. Yes. Absolutely. But why? Why should it be privatized? Well, number one, when the government runs the police departments, like I said, according to the Supreme Court, they have no duty to protect and serve anybody, right? That's not their duty. Number two, when you have the government run anything, it's shit. It's trash. It's horrible. You get horrible service, right? You get carelessness and negligence, right? You get what you get with Terrence Crawford. You get no accountability. You get no repercussions and consequences for these police officers. You get none of that. But if you privatize policing, these different firms have to compete for your business. They have to compete. When there's no competition, there's no reason to provide any good service. There's no reason for it at all. Right? Like the Chicago Police Department. Who do they have to compete with for the people of Chicago's business? Nobody. So do they have to behave? Do they have to treat the people right? Do they have to, when they make mistakes, do they have to be held accountable? No. But with private policing, you have to compete for the people's business. Let's say you have a community of 2,000 people, and they say, you know what, we don't want your fucking sheriff's department, or we don't want your police department. We want to hire a private security force to do what y'all should be doing. Well, guess what? You're not just going to hire the first firm you see, right? You're going to allow different organizations to bid for your business. They're going to bid for your business, and to keep your business, they're going to have to perform well. They're going to have to perform well for your business, to keep your business, because they have to compete for it in the first place. And they could always get replaced by another firm. So that means when their officers fuck up, there has to be consequences, right? So that is a solution. Universal Truth, salute to you, bro. Asset forfeiture will skyrocket? How would that be? How would that skyrocket? Viso says, I disagree with privatization of the police. Why do you disagree? Yes, the government always chooses the lowest bidder. That's just one solution, though. Privatize policing. Yeah. There are towns in this country already that have private security, that have private police. There are towns across this nation that have them. They're just small scale, right? Well, what you have to do is you have to do it across the board on a large scale, so that if the government feels like, well, your little police department, your little private police department aren't doing things the right way, we're going to come in and we're going to take over. No, you can't take over. No, we'll just replace them if they fucking up. If there's corruption, if there is abuse, if there are, murders and all these different, if you guys are doing all that, no, we just gonna replace your ass. And this will create more businesses, and obviously you would, more people will be able to get jobs, more competitive jobs, right? It just makes it better across the board. It makes it smoother, because every government ran operation runs like ass. It's complete trash. My back hurt says, as long as the citizens have a say in which privatized police they once served from. Yeah. That's what, of course, it would be 100% up to the so-called citizen. It will be up to them, obviously, right? And then the money you skip, so you remove the middleman. You remove the middleman so that when they extort your taxes, they wouldn't have all the money that they put towards policing, that they extort from your paycheck. Yeah, that would go back to your paycheck. And when you cut the middleman out, that's less money you have to spend. So if the people are paying the private police force directly, it wouldn't cost them as much money. They would be able to spend more money for better services because you're cutting the middleman out. The middleman is the government. Marvin Evans says, look up CCA private prison model. Private police would take on. No, it would not, because the private prisons are not hired by the people. They work directly with the government. They work directly with the government. It's not private. It's just private organizations run the prisons, and the government funnels the people into these private prisons, and the private prison owners give kickbacks to government officials. See, that's where you got it fucked up, because you still got the middleman. Just like when you want to build a road, the government doesn't build the road. A private contractor builds the road. The government pays them. You're cutting the middleman out. You're cutting the government out. So you're not going to have the thing that you have with the private prisons, because do you deal with private prisons? Help me understand it in your state. All the private prisons in your state, do you have any dealings with them? Do you choose? No, you don't. The government does. The government deals directly with the private prisons, just like they deal with Big Pharma. Big Pharma is private. All these special interest groups, these corporations they deal with, are private. The private security firms the government deals with are private. So yes, if you let the government get involved, then you will have that problem. No, you cut the government out, is what I'm telling you. Nice try, though. Roke Carruthers says, no, you're wrong. Privatize is always worse, inserts middleman. Look at private prisons. I just explained that. You're cutting the middleman out. The middleman is the government. No, the people deal directly with the private police force. There is no government involvement. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. Remove government from these things that you believe that they're serving you with. Remove the government and watch how much more smoothly shit goes. Salute to the beautiful Desiree Oliver. The beautiful Queen Desiree Oliver is in the building. Salute to her. It's always good to see you, Queen. Much love to you. Elise Capria says it shut down again. What's shut down? Owen says there are private contractors, but there are also county, city, and state organizations that get millions in funding for road construction. Yes. Yes. And how well does that private road construction go? Doesn't it take them 20,000 years to do these things? No, you don't allow the government to deal with it, right? I know you guys believe that we can't do shit without government. I understand that. You think that nothing can happen. Nothing gets done. At the end of the day, the people build the roads. The people build the bridges. The people build the hospitals. Right? Human beings, just like you. And guess who runs the government? Human beings, just like you. They're not special. They just convinced you they're special because they're ambitious. And their ambitions involve power. You don't have those ambitions, so you don't see it, right? You don't put yourself in their place. You're not saying, well, if I was, you're not power hungry like these people. That's why you're where you are, and that's why they're where they are. But then you have the people that don't want to have power over others and don't want others having power over them. And those are people like me that understand that no human being has the right to have power over another human being. That's what I understand. So the solution is to remove the people that want to have absolute power over you. Remove them from your fucking life. That's the solution. Yes, I'm glad. Yes, Desiree Oliver. The feeling's mutual. I know. Yes. Marvin Evans says they were elected. Salute to the Mikado for dropping that $2 super chat. So I appreciate you, bro. He said they are technically supposed to do what we tell them. Oh, yeah, I know. I know they're supposed to do what we tell them, but they don't. Well, here's the problem, right? We give them, right? We have consented to be, well, not us. Our parents gave the government our consent to be governed when we were born, when we got Social Security cards and birth certificates. And your parents' parents and your parents' parents' parents, all the way down the line. But there's always consent. We give them our consent, right? They have no incentive, or they have no, well, why would they do what we want them to do? They have no reason. They know that they're going to do what they want, and we're just going to accept it. They're just going to vote. They're going to vote next election and then blah, blah, blah. But we know that every vote is a vote for us. These are the bankers and the corporations thinking. Have I heard of Russell J. Gould? No, I have not. The Mikado, I have not. At least Capria says, nah, we need to have people switched up or something. Shit is getting real old. Yeah, I agree with you. Desiree Oliver says, self-governance, I only want to answer to my higher being. Salute to you, Desiree. Yes, my kind of lady. When I see a beautiful woman who thinks like that, it just makes, yeah, it's beautiful to see. And I'm seeing that the ladies are understanding this a lot more readily than some of you fellas. It's interesting to see that. So done with these talks, to be honest. I understand. But we have to have these conversations, Elise. And I'm glad you enjoy being here. I appreciate you. What needs to happen next is organization. That's real talk. Organization. I'm going to talk about something tomorrow that we have to be extremely prepared for. But we have to organize, right? And they don't like organization. They don't like organization unless they sanction it. Government sanctioned organization is the only organization they like. So, and I'll give you another solution. There is a town in Mexico. I spoke about this a couple years ago. KRJ says, Snap, I hear you, but sometimes these private entities can be used for bad intentions by our government. Again, the government should not be involved in the private organizations that the people install, right? We install our own private police force. The government should have zero organization or zero involvement. If the private police force arrests somebody, okay, then there'll be a separate thing for that. But they will have zero dealings with our private police force. But you gotta ensure that the government can't get involved. And how do you do that? How do you ensure that the government does not get involved with these private organizations? Because believe it, the government will try to get involved. They will try to regulate. They will try to have their hands all up and through that. Well, there's only one way to ensure that they don't, right? Use your imagination. How do you ensure the government does not get involved in your business? You simply make sure that there's no government, right? Yes, the government follows the money and the power. Desiree Oliver says that's because women are tired of being controlled, arranged marriages being a kept woman, welfare because the government eradicated the importance of family and a two-parent home, hindrance in the workplace. I agree. Hey, you right on point, Desiree. Yes. The government used welfare, right, to divide the black household. But it didn't stop there, did it? No, it worked against everyone. See, y'all think it's just happening. It just happens to be that black folks are the biggest target. Desiree says that's why women are more understanding of what you speak of. That's what's up, Queen. Ken Garjay says, I agree with you. It's just that you would also have to make sure private organizations aren't following the money, which we all know the government is packed with currency. Well, sometimes you got to play their games, right? There's nothing stopping us from creating these special interest groups and going into these lobbies, right, and lobbying ourselves. There's nothing that stops us. The fact that lobbying is legal in the first place is wild to me, but, you know, it is what it is. So in Mexico, well, Ricky, yes, there's going to be some type of government, and I'm going to explain how you mitigate government overreach because it's possible, right? So in Mexico, there was a small town. This small town had a little police force, right? But the cartels, right? The cartels basically had control of the police department. Well, they kept harassing and terrorizing the people of this town. Well, the people of the town got fed up. And you know what they started doing? Well, the police force wasn't doing shit. Desiree Oliver says, lobbying is the single most detriment to having a balanced government. Absolutely, because there is no balance when you have lobbying to that degree, where special interest groups that size are involved, right? Because they don't give a fuck about us at that point. But this small town, the people of this town in Mexico got tired, right, of the cartels. And obviously they got tired of their police not doing shit about it. You know what they did? They took up arms and they started snatching up cartel members and killing them and torturing them. And guess what? The cartel stopped fucking with them. The cartel stopped fucking with them. So they didn't hire a private police force. You know what they did? They armed up. They armed up. And they said, nah, pimpin'. They took up arms and started dealing with the cartel members them damn selves and said, fuck that damn police department. Sunshine, salute to you, Queen. Salute to Queen Sunshine in the building. She says, I remember that mom that took them on all by herself for unaliving her daughter. She got several of them before they got the mom, too. Sometimes you got to do it. Desiree Oliver says, remind me of the French Revolution. Yes, it happens. Listen, they're doing it all over the country right now. They just don't want you to know about it. They don't want you to know about the uprisings going on across in Europe. But the only thing, the problem with when they do it in Europe is that They don't dismantle the government. They just replace who they got the fuck out of there. Oh, they say, oh, you fucking up. Oh, let me go get your ass out of here. Yes, that's why we having a second. Well, the Second Amendment is supposed to protect what's already there. We already have the right. All the people in Mexico did was say, you know what, fuck this shit. They started, not only did they kill cartel members, they tortured them and left them tied to posts and all kind of shit to show the example. Like, look, keep fucking around and finding out. And these are cartels, heavily armed. It got to a point it wasn't you fucking with the townspeople no more. But obviously, right? You see, the problem is that we have a Second Amendment, but we also have thousands of gun control laws on the books that limit our right to keep and bear arms, even though the Constitution, even though the Second Amendment says it shall not be infringed, they find ways to infringe upon it anyway. And instead of saying fuck you and fuck your goddamn law, we just comply. We comply. We say, okay. The Mulford Act, y'all remember that? I don't know if you guys remember the Mulford Act in California. That was when they took away open carry in the state of California because the Black Panthers marched on the Capitol with their firearms. It was legal. And they said, oh, we can't have that. And guess what? The Mulford Act of 1967. And they allowed it to happen, right? The KKK and the NRA. The NRA endorsed that bill because they didn't want Negroes running around with guns, right? Now look. See, you think it's just going to affect the Negroes. It's only going to affect the niggers, like welfare, like the Mulford Act, like the war on drugs, like the crack epidemic, like HIV, like crank, like all these different things that they put us in, they create all these things for us. You think it's just going to affect the Negro? See, that's where you're fucking up. See, white folks allowed the Mulford Act to get passed because they hated Negroes. They didn't like the idea of Black Panthers marching on the Capitol with their guns. Heroin. You see, the people up top, they don't give a shit about you either. These phones and tablets, Steve Jobs, he didn't let his kids have tablets and phones. Bill Gates, you think that he don't eat no motherfucking meat? You think these individuals, and let's not get into what Bill Gates got going on right now, where he wants to target sickle cell and HIV. Salute to Desiree Oliver again. She says, you talking to, I don't know how I feel about you talking to other people, Desiree. No, I'm kidding. Sunshine says, I know they have access via common jobs. Someone, salute to Love for that gift. I appreciate you. Love always dropping the gifts on me. I appreciate that. Yeah, all that shit backfired. Sunshine says they're doing the same thing the P-Stones are doing. They have degrees and work for major corporations. P-Stones. What's a P-Stone? Now, this is a whole different subject, but Bill Gates is targeting HIV and sickle cell. He wants to wipe them out. Well, who gets sickle cell the most? What group of people are more inclined to have sickle cell anemia or the sickle cell trait? Black folks. Absolutely. HIV. Where is the HIV capital right now? Where's the HIV capital? ATL. I'm hearing Houston is getting pretty bad. Houston, Texas. Hotlanta. Yeah. No, it's not San Francisco. P-Stone is the Chinatown or Chi-Town gang. That went up against law enforcement and the government. They switched tactics and put on suits and ties. They now blend. Okay. Yeah, you gotta be, you gotta change things up a little bit. Atlanta, Georgia. I heard Houston is competing. Now, do you guys believe that HIV was a natural occurrence? Because we know COVID-19 was not a natural occurrence, right? Hold on. COVID-19 was created in a lab. Someone said Cleveland. A lot of black folks in Cleveland, a lot of black folks in Atlanta, a lot of black folks in Houston. Yeah, HIV was created as well. They told you a monkey, right? A monkey in Africa gave it to somebody. Somebody fucked a monkey or some crazy shit like that. Listen, y'all. And the Tuskegee experiments. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget Tuskegee. Desiree Oliver said they thought crack was going to eradicate us, but the opioid pandemic is paying their asses back tenfold. Look at the senators' kids passing from fentanyl left and right. Yeah. Yeah. This shit don't, listen. You think the elite class give a fuck about those senators, children in the Congress? No. See, they cycle those people in and out. The Congress people and the senators. Yeah, they might stay in office for 30,000 years, but they're puppets. Just as well, they're puppets. The elite class are the elite class members, you'll never know who they are. Their kids will never die from opioid abuse. Their kids will never eat a motherfucking wood chip sandwich. You know, that impossible bullshit that's full of goddamn bamboo cellulose. Their kids will never eat. No, their kids will never be exposed to none of that shit. Never. I mean, look at Joe Biden's kid. Y'all think Joe Biden is one of them? No, Joe Biden it was used by them. No, he's expendable. They're all expendable. If they get out of line, they get taken care of. They get dealt with. Sunshine says they're also in the military. They went from fighting other gangs in the streets to getting degrees and wearing suits. They are featured on A&E American Gangsters. Oh, I gotta look that up. Desiree, it reminds me of The Spook Who Sat by the Door. The Spook Who Sat by the Door. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that movie. But anyway, y'all, not to mention patient zero from the AIDS epidemic is believed to be a white flight attendant from Canada. I mean, hey, you know what I'm saying? Is my jaw magnetic? What are we talking about? Ricky Bobby says, who takes the drugs and most and pays for them? Who gets them free by flooding hoods and ghettos? It is what it is, y'all. I'm just telling y'all what the solution is. The solution is to empower yourself and and just do for self and remove government from your life. There are ways to do it. I'll talk about it more. Anyway, y'all, much love to you. Thank you guys for coming through. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for sharing. Sunshine says there are women in the Rio or somewhere like that who have an immunity to AIDS. That's crazy. You too, Desiree Oliver. Thank you guys for coming through. Thank to everybody. Sunshine, Oliver, Sunshine, Desiree, Coach Hudson was up in here. All my moderators, all the people that come through to check me out. Rosalind Brown, Theo Wink, Ricky Bobby, all y'all. Salute, much love. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe so that we can do what? Keep marching forward toward freedom and truth. I'll holler at y'all tomorrow. Peace.